YouTuber Smithereens was on a night walk in the woods when he claimed something was following him between the trees.
Come out. Come out from behind the tree, I see you. Okay, we gotta go.
Instead of leaving immediately, he started filming. But then, he finally decided to leave the area. Now, it might just be a prank or a staged moment with someone hiding off camera. Because why would you stay so calm? But who knows? This couple was driving down a quiet road at night after finishing a hike when their headlights suddenly lit up something on the left side of the road. They quickly snapped a photo as they passed by. A figure was standing near the roadside. According to the couple, the area was extremely remote and they hadn't expected to see anyone out there that late at night. Shaken by what they saw, they continued driving without stopping. Some people believe the figure could simply be a roadside object, sign, or statue caught at the right angle in the headlights. Others think it looks far too human to ignore. If it really was a person, why were they standing out there alone in the middle of nowhere at night? A 20-year-old hiker named Sam Benestick set out alone on a 10-day fishing and hiking trip into the remote mountains of northern British Columbia. The experienced outdoorsman was last seen in October 2024 near Red Fern Lake before disappearing into the wilderness. When he failed to return, a massive search operation began. Rescue teams, volunteers, helicopters, and air crews searched through steep mountain terrain, forests, and freezing alpine conditions for days. But eventually, the search was called off. Temperatures in the region had reportedly dropped to nearly negative 20 degrees Celsius, and many feared Sam hadn't survived. For more than 5 weeks, there was no sign of him anywhere. Then, completely unexpectedly, 2 workers traveling down a remote trail spotted someone walking towards them in the distance. It was Sam, alive, after surviving alone in the wilderness for over a month. Later, Sam explained that he had first stayed near his vehicle for several days before moving to a creek where he camped for around 2 weeks. As conditions worsened, he reportedly built a shelter inside a dried creek bed to survive the cold. According to people familiar with the rescue, Sam even cut apart parts of his sleeping bag and wrapped them around his legs to keep warm. Despite being found in rough condition, he had somehow managed to survive one of the harshest wilderness environments imaginable. A survival story so unbelievable that many people still struggle to understand how he made it out alive. A woman was camping alone on a mountain when this happened. A bear was outside her campsite, moving around the area and getting close enough to make her stay back and keep filming from a distance. It's a terrifying situation to find yourself alone in, but she handled it well and made it through safely. Reddit user ShortCelery2929, a land surveyor, was working a routine job in a remote open area when they came across something that immediately felt out of place. Sitting alone in the middle of nowhere was an organ transport container, the kind normally used in medical procedures and hospital logistics. There were no buildings nearby, no vehicles, and no obvious reason for it to be there. They reported to the police right away, but even after checking, authorities said no nearby hospitals had reported anything missing. Some commenters suggested these containers are usually disposable outer shells and don't always mean anything serious on their own. But how did something like that end up so far from any medical route or facility? It all feels very suspicious. In 2014, 2 12-year-old girls named Morgan Gaser and Anissa Weir invited their friend Peyton Lautner to a sleepover in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The next morning, the 3 walked together into a wooded park nearby under the idea of playing a game. But once they were alone in the forest, something terrifying happened. Peyton was seriously injured during an attack before the two girls left the woods, believing they had completed a mission connected to a fictional online character known as Slender Man. Despite the severity of her injuries, Peyton somehow managed to crawl out of the forest on her own. A passing cyclist eventually found her near a path and called emergency services. Doctors later said her survival was incredibly unlikely. As investigators questioned Morgan and Anissa, they learned the girls genuinely believed that Slender Man was real. The fictional horror figure had originally been created online in 2009, but over time, stories, videos, and internet forums caused the character to spread across the internet and become an obsession for the two girls. According to reports, they believed they needed to prove themselves to Slender Man or something terrible would happen to their families. The case quickly became one of the most disturbing examples of how online fiction, fear, and severe mental health struggles can collide in dangerous ways. Morgan Gaser was later diagnosed with schizophrenia and committed to long-term psychiatric treatment. Anissa Weir was also placed in a mental health facility before later being conditionally released. Meanwhile, Peyton recovered, returned to school, and largely stayed away from public attention despite the worldwide attention surrounding the case. More than a decade later, the Slender Man case still raises unsettling questions. This woman was out in the woods when she spotted something in the distance and quickly took a photo. Not knowing what or who she was looking at, she decided to immediately turn around and leave the area. Later, the image was zoomed in to get a closer look at whatever she had seen between the trees. In the photo, a dark shape appears to be standing in the forest. Because of the distance and low image quality, the figure is difficult to identify clearly. Could it simply be a case of pareidolia, or was there actually something standing out there between the trees? A 10-year-old girl named Peyton Santigan was sleeping at her family's home near Shreveport, Louisiana, when a nightmare happened during the night. According to officials, Peyton had apparently sleepwalked out of the house and wandered into the nearby woods without anyone realizing. Her family discovered she was gone around 10 p.m. and immediately began searching the area with neighbors before calling authorities. Soon, police, volunteers, and search teams joined the search effort, combing through the dark wooded terrain for hours. As more time passed, concern continued growing. The area around the home was heavily wooded, and it was unclear how far Peyton may have wandered while sleepwalking. Then, search teams brought in a drone equipped with thermal imaging technology. As the drone scanned the forest from above, operators suddenly spotted something. About 1.5 miles away from her home, a small figure could be seen curled up on the ground. The child was wearing purple and white pajamas. Searchers quickly rushed to the location and found Peyton alive. She was missing one shoe and covered in mosquito bites, but otherwise unharmed. Officials later revealed that although Peyton had sleepwalked before, she had never previously left the house during an episode. A terrifying situation that could have ended very differently if she hadn't been located when she was. A man recorded a video near Mount Diablo, California in January 2019 while out biking with friends. At what point during the trip, he wandered off alone down a nearby trail. That's when he noticed something strange moving behind the bushes. A dark figure could be seen partially hidden in the vegetation. As the man got closer, the figure appeared to watch him for a moment before moving away through the brush. Clearly startled by what he saw, he immediately turned around and ran back down the trail. Some people believe it was likely just another person wearing dark clothing. Others think the figure resembles descriptions often linked to Bigfoot sightings. Whatever he saw, his reaction in the footage made it clear that the encounter genuinely frightened him. Instagram user Apex Inconvenience went out into a wooded area to scare other hikers. Many people joked that this is exactly how Bigfoot sightings probably start, while others said they'd never trust noises in the woods again after watching it. Some even pointed out how unrealistic the sounds felt, despite it being a prank. If you were alone in those woods, would you assume it's just someone messing around, or something you shouldn't be hearing at all? I think the latter. This is the Masuda no Iwafune, a massive carved monolith in Japan, often called the Rock Ship of Masuda. It was found in Masuda, Shimane Prefecture, Japan, and later studied in detail by researchers in the 20th century. The structure is carved directly out of solid granite and measures 36 feet long, 26 feet wide, and 15 feet high, weighing roughly 800 tons. It has unusual features like flat surfaces, precise lattice-like carving, and two cube-shaped depressions on top that look intentionally cut rather than naturally formed. Despite its scale and precision, nobody fully agrees on why it was made. Some believe it may have been used for astronomical observations, with the grooves and alignment possibly tracking celestial events. Others think it could be tied to burial practices or religious use, possibly connected to early Buddhist rituals in the region. There are even theories suggesting it was part of a much larger structure that no longer exists, but none of them fully explain its exact purpose or origin. During a late-night hike, this person took a few random photos of the surroundings. At the time, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but later, while reviewing the images, they noticed something strange in one of the photos. Partially visible in the darkness, a faint figure appeared to be standing behind a wooden fence. The shape was difficult to make out clearly, but it looked almost human. So what exactly was standing there in the darkness that night? A 25-year-old hiker named Trammell Evans went on a solo hiking trip through Joshua Tree National Park before suddenly disappearing. Trammell, described as an experienced long-distance hiker familiar with the area, had planned a multi-day route through the desert landscape. On April 30th, 2023, he was dropped off at Black Rock Campground and began hiking through the park alone. According to reports, his plan was to hike from Black Rock to Geology Tour Road before eventually looping back through the California Riding and Hiking Trail. He was supposed to be picked up on May 5th, but when the time came, Trammell never arrived. After waiting for hours, he was officially reported missing. What made the case especially concerning was that Trammell was considered athletic, experienced, and already familiar with Joshua Tree National Park. Park officials also confirmed that he had not registered for a backcountry permit before beginning the hike, making it much harder to determine exactly where he had gone. Search crews spent days combing the harsh desert terrain, an environment known for extreme temperatures, isolation, and difficult landscapes. But no trace of him was found. Then, nearly 9 months later, park researchers discovered an unattended backpack near a trail in the Black Rock area. The backpack was later confirmed to belong to Trammell. Soon after, skeletal remains were discovered nearby. According to a statement shared by his family, Trammell may have succumbed to complications related to alcohol withdrawal while alone in the wilderness. In what was reportedly his final journal entry, he expressed concern about his symptoms, but also wrote a message about love and life before he died. A tragic ending to a disappearance. Someone was walking the streets of a quiet village when they heard what sounded like a cat crying for help coming from an alley.
He's dead.
Thinking an animal might be injured, they decided to check it out. As they got closer, they realized it wasn't a cat at all. It was a completely black animal standing still, with reflective eyes staring directly at them. Was it just a dog, or maybe something else entirely? A man named Carl Bushby set out from Chile in 1998 with an almost impossible goal: to walk an unbroken path around the entire world without using any form of mechanical transport. The former British paratrooper called the mission the Goliath Expedition, a journey that would eventually stretch across decades. Starting from the southern tip of South America, Bushby began walking north through some of the harshest environments on Earth. Over the years, he crossed South America, Central America, North America, Alaska, Russia, Asia, and Europe, covering roughly 30,000 miles entirely on foot. Along the way, he survived dangerous terrain, freezing Arctic conditions, remote deserts, and long stretches completely isolated from civilization. One of the most dangerous sections was the Darien Gap, a lawless jungle region between Colombia and Panama known for extreme terrain and armed groups. Locals reportedly warned him he could be kidnapped or killed trying to cross it. But he kept going. Years later, Bushby even crossed the frozen Bering Strait on foot between Alaska and Siberia alongside another adventurer. The journey also brought constant setbacks. He dealt with visa problems, financial struggles, dangerous weather, stolen gear, and even temporary bans preventing him from entering certain countries. At one point, he lost major sponsors during the 2008 financial crisis and had to pause parts of the expedition for years. Still, he refused to quit. As technology changed over the decades, Bushby eventually began documenting parts of the expedition online while continuing toward home. Now, after roughly 27 years on foot, he is finally approaching the last stretch back to England. Some people consider it one of the greatest endurance journeys ever attempted. A man recorded this footage somewhere in the Czech Republic while walking through a forest. In the recording, distant screaming-like sounds can be heard, shifting between what he described as almost human cries and deep howls. He later claimed the sounds were unlike anything he had ever come across in that area, saying they didn't match any known wildlife nearby. He believed it could be connected to local folklore, described in stories as a forest entity with unnatural vocalizations. But I couldn't find anything about it. If you know what he means, let me know. A pregnant woman, her partner, and their dogs got lost while hiking in Florida and became stranded on a trail. With temperatures reported between 90 and 104 degrees, the conditions quickly became dangerous after they underestimated both the heat and the distance of the hike. A search and rescue operation was launched, and the video later shared by Marion County Sheriff's Office Aviation Unit showed the moment crews located them.
Got it. 10-4.
The hikers were found sitting on the trail with their dogs, waving up at the helicopter. Rescue crews on the ground coordinated through thick tree cover while guiding them toward safety.
The trail's going to go off to your left in 3, 2, 1.
At one point, responders checked on their condition and prepared water and medical support as needed. The woman was reported stable, and the situation was brought under control without major injury. The group was eventually guided back toward their vehicle with assistance from rescuers. A person exploring an abandoned shack deep in the woods came across a strange-looking mass spread across an old couch. At first, it looked like some kind of decaying material or debris, with insects constantly flying around it. But on closer inspection, it turned out to be an active yellow-jacket wasp nest built directly on the furniture. The entire couch had basically been taken over, with the nest forming into its structure and the insects swarming around in large numbers. Yellow jackets are known for being aggressive, especially when their nests are disturbed, so definitely not a couch you'd want to sit down on. A woman and her family were walking through a park when she noticed something unusual on the ground near a cluster of twigs.
Definitely looks blue.
But when she looked closer, she noticed something strange about the shadows they were casting. Instead of the usual dark tones, the shadows appeared a deep, vivid blue, clearly visible against the ground. There didn't seem to be any obvious colored light source around that could explain it. Commenters suggested it was likely caused by the blue hour, a time around sunrise or sunset when the sky casts a strong blue tint over everything, affecting how shadows appear. A couple was camping, looking at the bright stars above them, when they noticed a strange circular light appearing above them. At first, it looked like a glowing spiral, almost like a small galaxy forming in the sky. Was it a known aerial phenomenon, or something unusual happening in the sky? Or maybe it was edited? Does anyone know more about this? A 76-year-old Vietnam veteran named Mark Eric Young went hiking in Arizona while in town for a wedding and ended up getting lost in the wilderness for 5 days. He took a shortcut through unfamiliar terrain, but the path kept leading him deeper into the mountains with no clear way back. His GPS failed and he quickly ran out of water by the 3rd day. As dehydration set in, he struggled through extreme heat and cold nights. At one point, he said he was forced to drink his own urine to survive. Later, he encountered a rattlesnake that struck at him and he killed it in self-defense. On the 5th day, he finally heard hikers and was rescued after calling out for help. He was later taken to the hospital but had no major injuries. People are impressed by his survival skills, especially at his age. Someone was going for a little walk outside when they found this strange creature and filmed it. The person recording follows it briefly as it moves in short, sudden motions, almost like it's pausing and reacting every few seconds. Many online pointed out a resemblance to Murlocs from the Warcraft game series. In the game, Murlocs are fictional amphibious creatures known for their frog-like appearance, sharp teeth, and aggressive behavior in groups. Others believe the footage looks fake, like just another AI-generated creation. A person driving home at night in Belgium noticed something unusual in the sky ahead of them. They saw a horizontal line of blue lights hovering above the road, appearing almost still as the car moved forward. As the car continued, the lights suddenly shifted, pulling inward into a tight cluster before spreading back out again. The movement didn't match anything they could easily explain from inside the car. Someone commented it could be a reflection or a lighting effect distorted by the windshield, but the uploader never mentioned that possibility. A person was walking through a cemetery during the day when they noticed a bright light coming from a distance. Curious, they felt drawn to follow it deeper into the graveyard until they reached the source. It turned out to be sunlight reflecting off a tombstone. An empty tombstone, creating an unusually bright glare that looked almost like a glowing point from afar. The moment felt unsettling because the stone was blank, with no name or markings visible on it, as if it was meant for them. It felt like a strange, unsettling sign. But the real question is, do they like their spot? A person was walking outside when they noticed something unusual above the power lines. A wooden chair appeared to be floating in midair, slowly rotating near the electrical cables high above the ground. It's probably caught on wires that aren't clearly visible, but that doesn't really make it any less strange. How did it get there, and why? A person was filming their day outside when they caught a strange moment. A bird-like shape in the sky suddenly started dropping downward. The clip shows the object or creature falling in a way that looked unnatural. Some think it could be a weather balloon or some kind of object losing altitude. Others say the movement looks strange enough to question what it actually was. I wonder if the uploader ever went to check the place it landed. That would have possibly solved a lot of questions. A man hiking in Syria was filming his surroundings when he suddenly looked up and noticed this. A disc-shaped object was clearly visible overhead, moving steadily with no obvious noise or normal aircraft flight pattern. What made it stand out was how exposed it looked. It didn't seem to avoid attention or disappear from view the way many other unusual aerial sightings tend to do in similar recordings. Do you think it could be a UFO? And what's your opinion on the recent government releases about UFOs? Now, for more scary hiking encounters, let's watch this video.